Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Nate Caywood and I am a Los Angeles-based cinematographer. And today we are talking about how there is actually only one way to shoot a diner conversation scene. I'm prepping to shoot a short film that's coming up hopefully by the end of the year. And it takes place in a diner with two people talking to each other across a booth. So I wanted to start looking at some other scenes like this and see what they have in common, see what they are different. And the thing that I think I realized is, for the most part, there's always exceptions to this. But it seems like there's one way to shoot a diner scene where people are sitting at a booth talking to each other across a table. Let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is, what is this image? And then what does this image? And then what does this image have in common? Okay, I think that's what we're talking about today. First off, this is Love Lies Bleeding, which is an A24 movie that came out last year. This is Iron Claw, which I think is also an A24 film. They make good movies. And then this is Wednesday, which is a Netflix series. Okay, so I just wanted to point these out, this is why I'm saying there's only one way to shoot this type of scene, and watching people do it shows me how you can achieve success in that. Coming from a cinematographer's point of view, the question that I feel like has to be asked is, what ratios do you want between your key light, which is coming in here, and your fill light, which is non-existent in this particular scene. Your key light and your fill light, which is a little bit here. There's a little bit of return on her, as you can see, or your key light and your fill light. There's not like a ton of fill light in this, but the thing that's interesting about her is that she's actually getting a very hard edge light that kind of builds this chin. So there's like some sort of big light outside just blasting her in the back of the head. And then as you can see in her eyes right here, that she's got a very clear key light that is just front facing and, whoa, not that, which is just front facing and hitting her basically right here. Okay, so we're going to get into that in a little while. I don't want to talk too long, and I don't want this to drag on. So I want to be pretty deliberate about it. So let's talk about this. This is Love Lies Bleeding. I think the big things that I'm noticing is like that I would have to navigate as I'm going into this production is like, okay, where are we establishing our wide at? It seems like this wide is shooting into parts of the depth of the room. Again, I know that's a big wandering DP podcast situation. You always want to shoot into the depth of the room, he says, like that. You can see that happening. It just gives you depth. I think one thing that I think is interesting in this is look at how low the level is on all these people. And even here, they're not super bright. There are fixtures clearly illuminating this guy, the top of his head. You can see it's like some sort of lamp is above him. But everything is so down, and that's because they're exposing for this exterior window. And you want to expose for that because, I mean, a lot of times conventional wisdom is that you don't want to blow out your windows. You want to hold the information in the windows so that, it's not just a big white blob back there. So it looks like the sun is going that direction, as you can see, which is interesting. But I'd like you to notice that there is a very hard edge on this character right here, and an edge right here on this character right here. And my first inclination is that when I look at that, you'll really notice that it feels like, to me, that you draw your eyes directly to here. Again, all this stuff falls off. Okay, let's look at another wide shot really quickly. I'm going to find the other wide shot. Great. Here's a wide shot from Iron Claw. Again, A24 film. Look at this. Shooting into the depth of the room. Again, Patrick O'Sullivan, my hero, my prophet. Makes a lot of sense, right? The leading lines are leading. Everything is, we're like shooting it. We're looking right at him. Like, that's the goal. Is like the goal of the cinematographer framing, composition, lighting is to direct the audience's eyes to what's important in the frame. So great. We're immediately looking right at him, leading lines. They, once again, she's more illuminated than this character. She's popping out against, like, she's contrasting and silhouetted against this sort of like mid 80s molded glass window or whatever, but she's got enough level coming at her that she's popping out much more than our server right here, right? So we're not looking at server, we're looking at her. We're looking at him. we're looking right at them because that's where our eyes are going. Depth of the room, leading lines. Also, just want to call out foreground action here. And I always love this is like, if you're familiar with the term wet down, which is where you're shooting an exterior night shoot and you have somebody come in with a hose and you spray all the concrete or the asphalt with water, it causes the light to reflect. It's called a wet down. It happens, like, literally watch any TV show or film. If they're shooting at night, there's probably a wet down. But I love this, that there's a natural occurring wet down in all of the like highlights are bouncing off these dark wood tables and chairs and stuff like that. It just creates interest. Ping, 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 ping. Like, incredible. Okay, let's go to another establishing wide shot. Here it is. Another establishing wide shot. Okay, this is interesting. This is from Wednesday, which is obviously a very heightened reality. Both the previous films, Love Lies Bleeding, is in a vague reality. There are some sort of magical realism things that happen at the end of the film, spoiler alerts. And Iron Claw is supposed to be semi-biographical, so memoir-like. So those are both playing more in reality. Like, Wednesday takes place in an alternate universe where like magic exists. So you can sort of see in production design exactly how we're elevated. Look, let's just notice foreground elements, really just creating depth. Like, that's the thing. Again, that's part of the goal. I will say that I think it's interesting because it feels a bit more of a formal show that they are not shooting into the depth of the room. They are shooting flat against this window, which is making it feel like it's a flat shot. But if these elements in the foreground weren't here, it would feel that there's absolutely no depth whatsoever. So it's a very smart move. Background actor with the Ring t-shirt on here. Like, yeah, great. Let's get him going. Okay. Again, there's a big light source outside of this window, just outside of frame over here, just smashing him in the face with light. And notice the thing is, like, I think this is the thing that I'm learning from looking at these images. What I feel like I'm seeing is that they are doing either cross keying, and that's it's not quite as subtle as doing the alternative, which cross keying is like, okay, let's do a bird's eye view here. Let's say this is her. Let's say this is Wednesday. And let's say this is our hero guy over here. Cross keying would be that you have a big old nasty light over here outside of the window, and you got a big old nasty light over here outside the window shooting at her, right? So, but that's not what they're doing here, right? You can see that there's just like one big fixture that's hitting him here. It's hitting her there, and they're using this book right there to reflect back up to bring level onto her face. Right, which I think is like incredible. What a genius thing to do. You know that this is going to be playing in the scene when you're reading interior diner slug line late afternoon. Wednesday sits at a booth reading her horoscope, whatever. When you read that, you're like, oh, okay. Well, that gives you an opportunity to understand that that might be able to help you a little bit. So again, one big fixture outside of a window, really great thing to notice. Let's go to another wide shot. I really just want to focus on the sort of wide shots here really quickly so that we can see how establishing works. Okay, this is season 5 of Fargo, the FX TV series. Look at how incredibly hot these blinds are. Where do you think the light's coming from? Just totally side keying my man Ham right here. Look at this, just blasting him in the face. Again, the questions I think that you're going to be asking as a cinematographer is not where you're putting the fixture. You automatically know where the fixture is going. It's going outside of this window. You're blasting it through the window, and you're hitting your lead subject in the face. Like, that's really just what's happening. I think the big question that you're asking the director as far as tonality and sort of the story that you want to tell is that you want to figure out is like, how hot is this? How crushed, how down is all this? The ambient level, right? Because this show is drama. This show is dramatic. Notice, like, let's really quickly go back. Notice the ratio of key to fill in this show and how down the room is. Notice that compared to when we return to Wednesday, right? It's still pretty down here, actually. That, like, I actually thought that was going to be more of a test. Look, this is still like a moody TV show. So they're still crushing everything that's in like this sort of fall off range, right? But you can see that there's still a little fill action that's happening probably off of the table, ambient level coming off of the table that's bouncing up on his face, right? Okay, I think I have one more wide shot that we can look at before we get going. Actually, again, another wide shot. Huge fixture out here. Out here, you can see it just blasting through the window like that. Got a little haze going. You know what I mean? Right here, probably another big fixture blasting him in the back of the head, right? Ambient level bouncing back up onto his face from a notebook, from the table, from that sort of stuff. There's a hard hair light there, and there's a big light that comes through here. So that's 2 lights. That's 2 lights that's happening. There's not a light through here because we are, again, exposing for the exterior. You get some practical light. Man, I don't like that it does that. You get some practical lights here. You get some bips, some bops of light, and like, great, you're creating interest. But look at how down the rest of this restaurant is. It's so low. The level is so down. And the reason for that is because, again, we're directing our audience's eye to right here. Ooh, I don't want square. To right here. Look at my guy. Look at my boy Timmy. This is from the film Beautiful Boy. My boy Timmy Chalamet sitting right here scrawling on the notebook. That's what we want to be looking at. Okay, one more wide shot. Oh, let me return to this. Again, where are we shooting? Depth of the room. Thank you, Patrick O'Sullivan. We're shooting into the L of the room, he calls it. We're shooting depth. Just shoot into the corner. Look, our eyes go right here. Use the light to tell us where to look, right? This is bottom thirds. If you're doing rule of thirds, wha-bam, wha-bam, rule of thirds, wha-bam. Look, boom, right here. Right here. He's right there. Great. Okay, here's another one. Look at this. Foreground element, bringing in depth. Look, we're shooting past poles. Really smart. Exposing for the windows outside. Wow, it's interesting because there's like, this is the ambient level that it feels like is probably coming off of the windows. And for some reason, he's really hot right here. Mark Ruffalo's face. Hard light smashing him right here. I wonder where that's coming from. Could it be just out here, hidden behind this pole maybe? Probably smashing him in the face. HMI out there. Great. But again, look at the thing. Look at what we're talking about. Contrast levels. Look at how hot his face is, which is not particularly hot, but I mean, like, it is exposed well, but it is bright compared to, boom, fall off, darkness. It is just, it's incredible. Every single one of these shots, like the question that you're asking is like, okay, we have to set up a wide shot to establish that they're in a restaurant / diner / blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then you know that you're going to have to go into coverage. But once you get into coverage, well, everything becomes easier because you can move the fixtures in closer. You can pull in a diffusion frame, you get a 4x4 216 or whatever. And you're like, boom, you're ready to go. The wide is where you are. This is interesting, actually. I just want to point out, I can't tell. It doesn't look like these practicals are on. Interesting choice. That's all I'm saying. I don't know that I would do that. I feel like, oh, man, if I had a chance, I'd probably turn practicals on. I mean, get them low, put a 40-watt tungsten bulb in there and dim those things down. Okay. Boy, I'm taking up a little bit more time than I want to. Let's just hop really quickly into coverage. Okay, we're back. Love Lies Bleeding. We're back. So you can see from the 2-shot, right? We were talking about earlier how there's probably a large fixture right here, and she's probably getting blasted in the face with that. You can look at the edge on her and see how hot it is compared to the rest of anybody else in here, right? So then you go down to her coverage. Look what's happening. Hard light right on the face, cutting her completely in half. Now, I will say that they probably threw up some sort of frame right here because it does feel soft. Like, the quality of light is softer than if you were just blasting her in the face with an HMI. Like, it just is. 6x frame, 8x frame, silk, something. But it's you can see that this is what we're talking about. Look, you can see how I'm saying that it's like she's been softened up. Like, look at the quality of the light on her skin versus my gal back here. Look at this. Boom. She's getting hit in the face with an HMI, right? That's happening. These two people are not. She is. She is not. She's been softened up. That's really nice, right? That's really lovely. So then let's go down one more. So this is the coverage that they're shooting as well. Now look, originally the fixture was out here shooting this girl in the face. We can't do that now because it's in frame, right? So what do? You just move the fixture around this way. You just move it around. And now you're shooting just, again, just bisecting her face. And look at the quality of this light, softened up, right? Who knows what it is? If you know, let me know. You worked on this project, leave a comment below. Please let us know. But it's something softer. And it's interesting. It feels like maybe it's later in the day. Doesn't this feel warmer on her skin tones than this? Could be an illusion. I don't know. Maybe they warmed up the HMI to make it feel, to try and match something earlier. Okay, look, you punch in for coverage. I think there's a tighter one of Kristen Stewart around here. Maybe I don't have it. Apologies. All right, and then straight on two shot. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is, like, look at this. There is now some sort of overhead light that's happening here because you can see it in them. And again, it's sort of like maybe there's cross key stuff happening, light shooting out here, hitting her, but I don't think so. I think they literally were just like, because I think this plays a little bit later in this conversation, so time has passed, so it's not about replicating the exact same shot. I think they just put a light over here, and they're like, it's practical. Let's expose for the windows, and they got a practical light. Okay, that's Love Lies Bleeding. Let's continue on. We're back to Iron Claw. We already talked about this one, but look at the coverage, right? What do? She's sitting here, leading lines, looking good. Boom, hitting her in the face with a light, softening it up. So you got to take care of your female talent, you know. This looks like it's hitting her on the cheek. So that's the hot spot. This is the hot spot. You're aiming right here for her cheek, and then it's falling here. And so the thing is, like, you can see right here a little bit of level. What do they have? Maybe a bounce card over there. Maybe it's just ambient room stuff. Maybe it's a menu being held by the server. I don't know. But there's something that's bouncing back up to give her a little bit of return here so that we have texture in the skin tones. We have level back on this side because this is hot, which brings this down. So I'm not sure what our ratios are here, but it's looking intense. See, look, we go back to Zacky Boy Efron. There's like a little bit further. This light is wrapping a little bit further around because, again, it's probably further this way in the original setup, right? Like, there's more windows here that would be bringing in light this way towards him versus her. She's got one window, right? So his is automatically going to wrap more around, right? So this is where we're at now, right? So it wraps a little bit further around. You can see there's a catch in his eye. They probably didn't soften it up as much for him as they did for her, but that's life, you know? Okay, now this is the big outlier. Just wanted to repoint this out. Hard light hitting her from behind right here, creating an incredible, look at this jawline. She's incredible. She's got an incredible jawline. Okay, and then obviously you can see right here in the eye hole is that she's got some sort of light just filling in her face. That's the key light, right? This is the back edge. This is the key light, right? You can see it on her white blouse as well. It's just all happening here, and it's all very lovely. Same thing for this cat hop. Look at this, right? So getting hit in the face by the side, but look at this. Eye catch goes all the way across. All the way. Look, there's a Rembrandt right here. Boom. Rembrandt light right here. Incredible. Now, it looks like there's something coming from this edge. Like there's like a little something here hitting here. Almost a color temperature difference, right? I don't know what this color temperature is, but is this a little bit cooler? Maybe. There's something in the skin tones right there, which I think is interesting. Maybe it's just a reflection. It's just, or not, I'm sorry, not a reflection, but it's something bouncing back. It's a bounce. They do have wider shots of it. This is, again, feels the same, feels similar. I will point out this. I love this choice to do, which is that the hot sun is still playing right here. Like this level is much hotter than Homeboy's face right here. Look, hard shaft of light coming through here. Love that, right? Gives texture, depth, and interest. Like, I think that, like, that's something that I want to steal. I want to definitely see if I can use that for my version of a diner sequence film. I love this back here. It creates depth right here. Look at how dark, how down the server is, right, on the fill side. But look at this pop of light. It's just giving depth and texture and reality. It just makes me feel like it's real. But these are all conscious, conscious decisions. Okay, one last setup that I want to look at that I feel like is really, really natural that I really like. I've always been a big fan of this show, End of the World. It's on Netflix. It's truly incredible. So this is more of the same. It does feel like there's some sort of practical light on. Let's see if we can go to the 2-shot, which is right here. I can't tell. Boy, they're dark in this 2-shot, right? They're really down here. But you can see that there's some level on her back. So there's got to be something above her, at least, right, to bring up that texture. But it does look like there's some stuff here, right? So you can see the I don't know. It's so interesting. Is this just natural and they just scheduled it for the day that the sun is like sort of above here? It's up over here, just hitting them this way, and you're getting your wet down vibes, or is it just because it's England and it's overcast and that's just daylight coming in here, and then they've got some sort of overhead fixture that is playing down on their skin tones. Look, feels like, I mean, look, it feels like you can see it here, right? This is the sun side, and this is the fixture side. Okay, so to me, here are the lessons that I learned. The lessons that I learned are you're going to have an establishing wide shot. If you can create some sort of foreground, if you can shoot into the L of the room, that's going to be advantageous for you. It's going to create depth. It's going to give the illusion of depth. I'm going to try and steal to see if I can use some direct sunlight pops to even create more depth and interest in it. And then you move in for coverage and you soften it up a little bit and you're good to go. The only choices I feel like you have to make are what are your ratios between your key and your fill side? And do you want to have an overhead light that can just bring up the ambience levels on their skin tones, their shirts, all that sort of stuff, as far as texture in the fill side is concerned. Okay, I want to bring up one last example, which is totally not practical and it is totally impractical for everybody here. But I wanted to bring it up because I was prepping the film that I was about to shoot. Originally, we were going to shoot it on 16mm film, and we were going to use Kodak 50D stock, right? Which means that which is the exact same stock, except for 35mm, that they use to shoot Pulp Fiction. Look at how hard this light is just Rembrandting, and they are absolutely cross-keying. Look at this. Hard light outside of the frame, blasting Tim Roth in the face. Another hard light from outside. This might even be inside. Look at how far this comes around her chin. This might actually be inside of this building, or it's so far that direction that it's almost hitting her directly in the face. Look at how hot this is. That's the same thing. Timmy, back of her head, right? Back of his head, front of her face. Cross-keying. And look at how bright it is. It has to be, because they're exposing 50 ASA film. That's like, guys, you got your FX3s, you got your Canon C400s or whatever, C80s, you got your Lumix GH5s. They've all got native ISOs that are 500, 800, 3200 ISO. That's equivalent to ASA in film speed. This is 50. Could you imagine shooting anything on 50 ISO? It would be so dark. You gotta have huge lights. So, needless to say, we're not shooting this movie on film. We're shooting it digitally. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for sticking around. I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you liked what I'm doing. I'm excited about the process of doing it. I'm excited about learning already. I can tell by even just saying these things quickly out loud, and I know that I'm kind of like barreling through it because I just kind of need to get through this stuff, is that by even bringing attention to it, it's solidifying it in my memory and in my mind about my own work and what I could be doing in the future. So if you like what you see, please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment below. It's going to be super helpful. I want to try and build a community of like-minded individuals who are just trying to get better at telling stories through moving images. And hopefully we can do that together. Thanks again. Hope to see you guys soon. Cheers.